We pick up right where we left off in our last episode at our incredible lunch spot, and continue to hit the highway to find some dirt. We began to encounter some remarkable and diverse landscapes as we headed towards Capitol Reef. We made one final pit stop for fuel near the remote and small town of Tikaboo. Tikaboo was derived from the Paiute word meaning friendly. After we made our way up the stunning switchbacks, we turned down Wolverine Trail to seek out camp for the day. We woke up from one of the coldest nights of the trip. I stayed inside the camper and brewed some coffee. There was definitely some major frost on everything that morning. After we broke camp, we continued through about half of the Wolverine Loop towards Boulder, Utah, and made some stops along the way to admire the awesome scenery. But first, we stopped to hike into the intriguing Wolverine Petrified Forest. During the late Triassic period, about 225 million years ago, this region was nearer to the equator with a wet, subtropical climate. A remarkable ecosystem evolved from survivors of the worst mass extinction ever. Fossilization of these huge ancient conifers preserved details like cells and grow rings. This happened because the trees were buried by sand and volcanic ash in stream bottoms. Over time, silica from the volcanic ash penetrated the trees, eventually turning the logs into stone. Although today you see desert, remnants of this once lush landscape still exist. About a mile west along the riverbed, you can see giant fossilized conifer trees that witness the birth of the age of the dinosaurs. After exploring the petrified forest, we took some time to stop and observe the amazing landscape of Long Canyon before driving through it. After we reached Boulder, Utah, we headed north towards Cathedral Valley, and once again we found ourselves running into drastic weather changes and taking some highway detours. Fortunately, by the time we entered the southern end of Cathedral Valley, the weather took a turn for the better. With another chilly evening in store, we huddled around the fire in the moonlit campsite. The next morning we woke to a beautiful sunrise, slept in, and casually rolled out of camp. Cathedral Valley is a rugged and remote area of Capitol Reef National Park. The Cathedral Valley Loop is a 58-mile loop that includes several very unique points of interest along the way. We made sure to stop and see a few of them, one of which was the Bentonite Hills. The colorful layers of the hills are a result of volcanic ash, and some layers can date back to the Jurassic period, or about 150 million years ago. From the Bentonite Hills, we continued past the Upper South Desert Overlook and made a stop to witness the Upper Cathedral Valley Overlook. Needless to say, the views were stunning. Descending down a steep shelf road with snowy and icy switchbacks, we pressed on, intrigued by what the rest of the trail had in store. next stop was to check out the gypsum sinkhole. This sinkhole was formed when groundwater dissolved a buried gypsum plug. The cavity left behind has collapsed under the weight of underlying rock layers. This collapse has created a sinkhole nearly 50 feet in diameter and 200 feet deep. The gypsum was left behind from evaporating seawater approximately 165 million years ago.
Glass Mountain first, huh?
Our next unique attraction was Glass Mountain. Glass Mountain is a 15-foot tall exposed mound of selenite crystals. Selenite is a variety of gypsum in the form of glassy crystals. Glass Mountain was formed as a result of groundwater flowing through the Entrada sandstone. This water carried dissolved gypsum, which started to crystallize, forming what has been called a gypsum plug. This was truly a sight to behold. Neighboring Glass Mountain are two 400-foot cathedrals called Temple of the Moon and Temple of the Sun. The first Europeans to see these large monoliths were probably members of John C. Fremont's 1853 expedition. These monoliths are composed of Entrada sandstone from the Jurassic period.
And they say, oh, it's pretty.
So what do you guys think?
Mind-blowing.
Aliens?
Aliens. Definitely aliens.
Running low on daylight, we blazed through and completed the rest of the trail and headed towards Goblin Valley State Park.
That nobody's back here. We're getting here pretty late.
The good news is there's a little bit of a rough stretch that keeps the trailers out.
While it was another very chilly evening around camp, we enjoyed our last night around the fire, talking about the last few days of our incredible trip and the unforgettable scenery. This was certainly a trip for the books.